Check.
You mind leading? Mind leading? Yeah, yeah. Look here. You lead. Until I set everything. You lead. Namah Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Govardhana Radha Govardhana Sri Radha. Jaya Krishna Balaram Giri Govardhan, Krishna Balaram Jaya Giri Govardhan. Hari Bol, Goda Hari Bol. Jai Gauda Haribo, 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 Jai Gauda Haribo. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. So we are continuing the reading of the Bhagavad Gita as it is, presented by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So Srila Prabhupada arrived empty-handed, not so empty-handed. He had 2 boxes of books, and he had the equivalent of $7 or American dollars that he never used, by the way, because he never changed them. So he brought some rupees, but couldn't change them. So after years, the devotees found in one of Prabhupada's books the same notes that he had brought all the way, just in case, you know. You always have your stash, just in case things go wrong. So Prabhupada single-handedly established the movement. And he was trying, he was cooking, he was going and distributing books, he was going to different libraries, he was meeting people, he was going basically door to door, but you know, was kind of a commercial area. So whoever bought a book from him, he makes sure that after a day or 2 he will bring some samosas, some sweets, and he will give to these people to cultivate them. And he would write in his diary, today I sold 1 copy, or somebody gave a donation of 20 cents or 50 cents or $1. Every single day he would write whatever he collected and whatever people gave. Sometimes he will write the names of Mr. or Mrs. such and such. Sometimes they were just hippies, boys and girls. And he will say, you know, Mrs. Jane came, or Miss Jane, or Miss, or Mr. Bob, or something like that. So you can tell that he was very much focused in doing his service. So one day he was doing something, going to shop, some vegetables or something. And then he happened to be in the crossroad of one of the streets where he lived. And so when he stood there waiting for the light to change, then next to him was a devotee, or someone that eventually will become a devotee. Long beard, long hair, you know, those were the 60s. But actually he was quite tall. So who eventually will become Hayagriva, had been to India, if not twice, at least once. So he was very taken by the presence of this Swami, you know, in traditional clothes and shaved head, with his bead bags and the tilak and everything, you know, as it is. So he looked at him and then he asked him, "Are you from India?" And Prabhupada said, "Yes." "Are you from India?" Prabhupada later on will joke with his disciples, who in those days was the hippie era, and everyone had long hairs, really, really long hairs and beards, and that was the thing. So Prabhupada would say, "You look like munis." Munis means sages. And sometimes when you see, we were showing today the picture of the Bhagavatam, and then you see some munis there, sages, with the what do you call the top knot, yeah, and the beards, and Prabhupada said, "You look like munis." So that was the beginning, and Hayagriva said, "So what are you doing here?" He says, "Oh, I came here to teach Bhagavad Gita." He says, "Oh, really?" Because he has heard about the Gita and everything, traveling in India, went to Rishikesh, places like that. So Prabhupada said, I give classes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So Prabhupada was giving those 3 days. And on Sunday feast. Then, so he was very excited, who would eventually become Hayagriva, his disciple. And then he said, so you have friends, you know people. Prabhupada, very strategic. He says, yes, we live in some housemates, flatmates. Well, you go and bring them. So there were other 3 people there. And everyone became devotees, eventually. So that's, what do you call that? Flashback into the history of how Prabhupada started. But the point is that Prabhupada started actually doing this. He hasn't even produced his book. It was just in the form of a manuscript because he has been stolen in Calcutta. Somehow it disappeared. He had his suspicions. But disappeared. So when he came with the Bhagavatam, the first canto, divided into 3 volumes and 2 trunks, 200 sets of those. So basically 600 small books, because if you divide the first canto into 3, it becomes smaller. And that's all what he brought. And he had some work already advanced of the Bhagavad Gita. And he started presenting the teachings of Krishna every day. I mean, every Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays. And in the morning, he will give Bhagavatam class or even Chaitanya Charitamrita. So you can imagine the impression of these young boys and girls, as he called them, sitting there with a full-fledged Swami, coming directly from the Parampara, ordered by one of the great acharyas who had transformed the Indian scene in terms of religious and spiritual practice, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, who told Prabhupada the first time he saw him, "You're a young, educated boy. You should preach the message of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the English-speaking world." Srila Prabhupada argued. Prabhupada was part of the Gandhian movement, the freedom movement, Swaraj, which means freedom. Sometimes you hear them when they have political marches and things like that. So he argued to Bhaktisiddhanta. He said, but how can we preach something? Because Prabhupada obviously knew he was brought up in a Vaishnava family. So according to the Vedic system, the highest achievement in Vedic terms is, what is? Not pure love of Krishna. You have dharma, you have artha, you have kama, and then you have moksha, liberation, right? Liberation of freedom. So then I don't know exactly, but the way that is described by Prabhupada, he said, how can we present the message of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Basically this message of freedom and liberation, which is the highest form of moksha in terms of devotional advancement, when the whole country it's ruled by the British. He said like that. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur answered, this message is so important that cannot wait for perfect circumstances. Material world is always some problem. So you should take it up and just do it. Like the slogan, right? Just do it. I heard that somebody picked it from us. But anyway, that's another thing. Also the other brand, what's the other sports brand? No Fear. My understanding is a devotee actually created that, or someone that was associated with the devotees. No fear. What is Prabhupada's name? Abhay Charan. No fear when we take shelter of Krishna's lotus feet. So in that way, Prabhupada started. And he was preaching high philosophy, and everyone was just spaced out. They didn't understand. Many of them, they say that in the beginning they couldn't even understand Prabhupada's accent. So sometimes many of them, they were just fascinated with seeing this, like Mukunda Maharaj writes in his book, Buddha-like saint or monk. He was like, you hear stories about the Buddha, and how he was shining and how he would walk and kind of levitate and with his robes and things like that, and light and all that. And then they were just waiting, all the hippies, boys and girls, they was just waiting for Prabhupada to come down the stairs of the apartment that he had at the back of the storefront, and just see how he glowed, he just sit there and absorbed in chanting Hare Krishna and presenting the Sanskrit and the philosophy, and they didn't know what was what. They were just Some things may all make sense. You're not the body. That's it. Chant Hare Krishna. Eat prasadam. Basically, 2-3 things they learn from how they call him Swamiji. But Prabhupada will seriously based his preaching on presenting the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita. And 13 years or so before he came, he went to the West, he went to America, he wrote a long letter, very beautiful letter. Because Prabhupada had started a Hare Krishna movement or a version. You know, when they are trying some app or something, they're creating, designing something, you have the different models, beta model or whatever other, 2.0 or one of those things. It's a what do you call it? Experimental sort of design, and then see how it works and whatever feedback and whatever glitches, they try to fix it until it's a proper model. So Prabhupada tried that in India, and he started a movement in Jhansi, and it was called the League of Devotees. The League of Devotees. Do you know how many devotees he had then? 1. And I think his son or grandson eventually, got in contact with the devotees, and he will tell some things that was his father or, Acharya Prakar or something like that. Yeah. I don't know exactly, but I understand that he was very, very famous. Very favorable. There's a son. It was a son or the grandson. And I know one devotee who was in contact with him, was exchanging communications with him, and he was very favorable to ISKCON. And my father was Prabhupada's first disciple. Yeah. So Prabhupada started like that, and there was just one person. Okay, one person. Now, Prabhupada says in the preface of the Bhagavad Gita, he says something quite interesting. And many times he says this, but I just wanted to read this last sentence. He says, the very end of the preface, which was written in this country, 1971, in Australia, Sydney, 12th of May, 1971. Prabhupada says, he's explaining basically what the Bhagavad Gita is for, and then he says, our Krishna consciousness movement, this is maybe 3 sentences or 4 sentences before last. Our Krishna consciousness movement is teaching the whole world the central point. And because we are not polluting the theme of the Bhagavad Gita, okay, this is the central point. Okay, what is the central point? By the spell of illusion, one tries to be happy by serving his personal sense gratification in different forms, which will never make him happy. Instead of satisfying his own personal material senses, he has to satisfy the senses of the Lord. That is the highest perfection of life. The Lord wants this, and He demands it. One has to understand the central point of Bhagavad Gita. Our Krishna consciousness movement is teaching the whole world this central point. What is the central point? Satisfying the Lord's senses. Where are we? Our Krishna consciousness is polluting this central point. And because we are not polluting the theme of the Bhagavad Gita as it is, anyone seriously interested in deriving benefit by studying the Bhagavad Gita must take help from the Krishna consciousness movement for practical understanding of Bhagavad Gita under the direct guidance of the Lord. We hope, therefore, this is the part, that people will derive the greatest benefit by studying Bhagavad Gita as it is, as we have presented it here. And if even one person becomes a pure devotee of the Lord, we shall consider our attempt a success. So Prabhupada was just coming with that in mind. He wrote already after 5 years that the movement has been established, and there were already thousands of devotees all over the world. But he put that down just to make his point clear, that even if one person is able to become a pure devotee, then his mission is success. Incredible. So Prabhupada started like that, teaching the Bhagavad Gita, and he made it quite simple for the young students of his to understand. He was, yes, Prabhu. They asked him that. They asked him that, and the question. They asked him that question. Srila Prabhupada, I think, was one. He was talking about pure devotees or pure devotional service. Is that mine? No. Okay. Thank you. How many pure devotees are there? Because the interviewers, the journalists, and people like that hear Prabhupada, that expression, pure devotee, pure, pure lover of Krishna, etc. Says, how many pure devotees? Is there any pure devotee? They ask Prabhupada, and Prabhupada asks his secretary, how many devotees we have? And then they say, almost 12,000, Srila Prabhupada. We have 12,000 pure devotees. But he was asked that question several times. And the ways that Prabhupada answer is that how can you define a pure devotee? And Prabhupada at different times he said different things, but once he said, or a few times maybe, he said pure devotee is the one who's following the pure devotee. Like that. Yeah? So my short answer will be many pure devotees. I don't know. I mean, I'm not Paramatma, so I cannot know, but from what we see, many pure, and what's that saying? Unsung heroes. Yeah, like when there's a war, and they are the heroes, but there's so many people behind. I remember when I traveled in 2018, I think it was, we were invited into the American temples, some American temples. I think we visited 8 temples, and my wife couldn't come, so I went with my son, my youngest, not this Gopal, youngest son, Gopal, another Gopal, who's in Western Australia. So we were there, and he had his long hair at that time, surfy and all that. He was at Emerald Study University, and I like Hare Krishna, but I just want to keep being cool like that. So he traveled with me, for all these temples, and they were treating us like royalty. And at some point, after 2 or 3 temples, and I noticed this as well, but I wasn't really commenting with him. I was just trying to be, just taking prasadam as much as we could, and there were being maha plates for us specifically. He was vegan at that time, and now he's ahimsa. But they will bring the vegan cakes for him. They were trying to somehow, right? Krishna, I think, was playing a trick. And at one point he told me, Dad, have you noticed that every temple that we go, there is some pure devotee? He told me like that. And I was like, huh? Yeah, he says, every day I see some people in Mongol Arctic, and then I see them chanting, and then I see them doing their service every day. And then I heard, when we went to Los Angeles, I remember, somebody told us we were taking prasadam with some people, devotees, and then someone said, that Mataji there has been coming from Mongol Arctic for 50 odd years. 50 odd years. I don't know if it's 52, 52, I don't know how many. Prabhupada disciple, obviously. And she sits exactly in the same place. She puts her little cushion, stands, and then she's there next to Prabhupada. The deities are here. Prabhupada's murti is here. She sits just next to Prabhupada. The Prabhus are there, mothers are here. And she's standing there every single day. And then she does her service. I don't know, deity, something, cooking. She used to be a book distributor for, take a cushion, don't sit like that, please. No, you have to. It's not proper. It's not your body, it's Krishna's body. So, and she used to do book distribution for nearly 40 years. And for the last 10 years or so, she has been doing cooking, and so she was a little senior. And then the devotee was telling us the story, says, and she has a cat, and her only attachment, she says, it's a cat. That's a company. And then she reads Krishna book to the cat. cat is just there. And then we saw people like that every temple that we went, every temple. Sometimes Prabhupada disciples, sometimes very, unsung heroes. Humbly just doing their service, not big position, not anything like that, So it was a big lesson for us. And well, now my son is chanting Hare Krishna and he's shelter under Burijan Prabhu. So Gornitai did he's married and doing puja. Burijan Prabhu's instruction to him is that says what can I, because he's working. He's a youth counselor. He went to university. So Krishna really played a big trick. And Burijan Prabhu told him, every day you have to do kirtan for your deities. That's your service. Every day. Huh? Nice kirtan, nice service. Huh? So Prabhupada started presenting Bhagavad Gita as it is, even though he didn't have a Bhagavad Gita. Huh? There was no Bhagavad Gita, but he was presenting Bhagavad Gita. He was presenting Chaitanya Charitamrita, and Chaitanya Charitamrita was still maybe, I don't know, how many years? 7 years or so? 6, 7, 8 years? In the future. It's like, what was that famous movie? Future, what? You guys are too young. Back to the Future. Hare Krishna. So he was taking all these young boys and girls into a platform or a realm of advancement that was way, 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 way beyond their capacity to even grasp what was going on. So that's how Srila Prabhupada started. And he had full faith in the holy name, full faith in the Shastras, and he was just doing his thing. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati told him, because he repeatedly said, you have to preach in English. You have to preach in English. You want to sit? We have some cushions there. Make yourself at home. There are plenty of cushions there. So, who listen? There's no devotees in the West. Yeah. So, Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati told Prabhupada that if nobody listens, just preach to the 4 walls. Preach to the 4 walls. So what happened is that one good day, I think it was at night, there he was alone. And what did he do? He remembered that instruction and he decided to preach to the 4 walls. And someone had donated him or lent him a tape recorder. Have you seen tape recorder? Good old ones, right? Remember with the keys there, and and the loudspeaker at the back. So you press play and record. Remember? So then he pressed that, and that's the introduction of the Bhagavad Gita. And you can still hear the recording. It's right there. The introduction of the Bhagavad Gita. You can find it in YouTube. You can, yeah. Oh, really? Oh, that's hardcore. Yeah. Where we have it. It's in the little those machines like radio-like they sell in India. Then that's the first one. As soon as you turn it on, that's the introduction to the Bhagavad Gita. That's there. So I just wanted to mention the first thing that Prabhupada said, and from there we're gonna do a very quick overview of the Gita and some points, interesting points. This is what Prabhupada says after presenting his prayers to the spiritual masters and the Supreme Person. This is what Prabhupada says. First thing, Bhagavad Gita is also known as Gita Upanishad. I'll explain why he said that. It is the essence of Vedic knowledge. It's in page number 2. And one of the most important Upanishads in the Vedic literature. Of course, there are many commentaries in English on the Bhagavad Gita, and one may question the necessity for another one. This present edition can be explained in the following way. Recently, an American lady asked me to recommend an English translation of the Bhagavad Gita. Of course, in America, there are so many editions of Bhagavad Gita available in English. But as far as I have seen, not only in America, but also in India, none of them can be strictly said to be authoritative, because in almost every one of them, the commentator has expressed his own opinions without touching the spirit of the Bhagavad Gita as it is. Okay, so let me explain for a couple of minutes about this. The Bhagavad Gita is considered the essence of the Vedas. The Vedas have millions of verses, hundreds, if not thousands of books, and they are for thousands of years present in this planet. And as you can understand, after so many thousands of years, many of them are lost. Still, some of them, parts of them, are there in the Sanskrit language, and they have been translated into English and other languages, but just some parts. However, the Vedas in themselves, they present some basic truths that are considered essential for a human to achieve perfection. And one of them, and we often make this point, is where does everything and everyone comes from? That's the tattva. The Brahman tattva, Param Brahman tattva. The spiritual truth, the source of everything. What is it? Is it God? Is it a person? Is it energy? Is it nothing? What is it? That's the Vedas' recommendation for every human. And another truth is, what is our identity? Who am I? Right? That's central for the Bhagavad Gita. So the Gita brings those 2 points and puts them together. Explains who we are and explains where do we come from. But more than that, explains the relationship between us and our source, the absolute truth. The word God doesn't define properly the characteristics of that supreme source. That's why Srila Prabhupada called Krishna the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If you can please don't put the books on the floor. If you can hold it on your lap, that will be... That's all right. No worries. No, that's okay. Still. That's all right. No. But we can say that we can talk that at the end. Let us just focus on this. All right? That's okay. So, out of all the Vedic knowledge, imagine a big mountain, and then on the top of the mountain there is a beautiful pearl that it's hidden, and nobody knows about that pearl. But there is someone, a good friend of yours, very generous, that wants to show you that pearl. And that is what Prabhupada did. He showed us the highest gem of all the pearls. You were mentioned that verse today, no? Nigama kalpataror galitam phalam. That this knowledge is considered the fruit of the Vedic mysticism. And Krishna himself says this in chapter 15, one of the shortest chapters of the Bhagavad Gita. 12 and 15 have only 20 verses. He said this. This, what he has explained, this is the 15th chapter. This is the most confidential part of the Vedic scriptures. That's the point. O sinless one, he's talking to Arjuna. And it is disclosed now by me. Whoever understands this will become wise, and his endeavors will know perfection. Yeah, it is understood according to the Vedas that anything that you can achieve in this life, it's temporary. That goes without saying, right? That you don't need to be a brain surgeon or anything like that. You can give it to him. So this is what the Vedas are meant to present for those who are interested. This is the highest. And the Bhagavad Gita is compared to a mountain. You see here like a mountain? And the peak, the very peak right? How many chapters are there in the Bhagavad Gita? 18 chapters. And the central part of this text is the 9th chapter. And in the 9th chapter, which is called the most confidential knowledge, and that's exactly what it is. Nobody knows this. This is a secret. There are 3 levels of secrets that are presented in the Bhagavad Gita, in the Vedas in general. But this is the most secret. The first secret is, you're not the body, you're a spirit soul. Right? Every day we see ourselves in the mirror and we think, oh, not too bad. It's still going, right? Right? Still going. But that what we are seeing is temporary. It's an illusion. Right? I'm this skin color, or I'm this tall, or this short, or this skinny, or this, that, the other. That's an illusion. It's like a dream. So, that's the first thing that the Vedas explain to us. Who we really are. Who we truly are. Right? So, everything is temporary. But the only thing that we can really take with us after death is our consciousness. But that's a secret. So the first secret is, you are not the body, you're a spirit soul. Can you see your soul? You can see your soul, right? Can you see? No, we cannot see your soul. We go stand there in front of the mirror, you cannot see your soul. You can see the body. You can see materially, but you cannot see the soul. But you can perceive the soul. Here it is a person living. The next moment, the same person, is there lying dead. What is the difference? The soul is not there. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. Right? If the body is all what we are, then a dead body shouldn't be a difference. So that's the first point. Right? So the first level of secrecy, according to the Vedas, is that we are not the body, that we are a spirit soul. We don't know. It's a secret. Huh? A secret means that you don't know where it is. Yeah, that's a secret. The second level is to understand that we all come from a supreme being, supreme person. That's the middle section of the Gita. Right? But more secret than those 2 things is to understand that you, the soul, the living entity, the self, the Atma, and however it's translated in other languages, can have, and in fact has, an eternal loving relationship with the Supreme Soul, just like a son is having an eternal relationship, or daughter, with father and mother. It's natural. Or sometimes compare the fish and the water. The fish doesn't need some swimming lessons or anything like that, any training. Then doesn't need, it's natural. In the same way, the spirit soul doesn't need all these, external things in order to perceive the presence of the self itself and the supreme self, Paramatma, like that. So this is what the Gita presents, and the final section is how to connect those 2. Okay, I have the computer and there's electricity here, but I need a cable, and that's what in Sanskrit it's called yoga. Once it's connected, it works and it functions, and then we all can be happy like we normally are meant to be. Yeah? So that's the presentation of the Bhagavad Gita. 3 sections, and there's something important. Of course, we don't have that much time. That's the sign of the era, right? Whatever we're doing, we're thinking, okay, how many more minutes? And then I have to go, and then the prasadam, if I don't queue up in line, then I'm going to miss up, and the maha, I have to be, it's like always passion is pushing us. But I just wanted to bring something, because we have presented this point several times, so I don't want to torture you further. Each chapter of the Bhagavad Gita has one single main instruction. And that instruction, as Prabhupada explains, as Lord Shiva explains, as Lord Vishnu explains, can be summarized in one word. And sometimes that word can be found in one verse. And there are times when Prabhupada explained this point. One word can make you free. One word can give you perfection. Okay? So what I wanted to bring you to... Sorry. Oh, There you go. We're going to run a Gita facilitation course coming soon. So we all should sign up for that one. Then you have this for free. Okay, so this is the idea. You know that gentle person up there, right? Mr. Warning, right? I got it from someone. So imagine if we want to climb up there. So in the same way, the Bhagavad Gita can be compared to climbing mountain. And then what do you need? You need a road, right? To go up, correct? So in the Bhagavad Gita, we find a road clearly defined by two main things. One, the questions. Our life begins with questions, and our life ends with questions. Meditate on that one. Life begins with questions. What am I going to do when I grow up? Where am I going to work? Whom am I going to marry? What I want to do? How would I build a house? I mean, all these things that, we used to ask ourselves. Silly, stupid questions sometimes. But questions and answers are crucial. And the questions and answers that we find in the Bhagavad Gita determine that road that takes us up. So, we find, for example, in section 1, main question, who am I? Yeah, we have said that 1,000 times. We are the Atma, the soul. In Spanish, we say alma. Similar. Jiva Tattva, the truth of the living entity. Aham Brahmasmi, I am a spirit. This is what we call the process of self-realization. Right? Now, in this first section, we find several chapters that explain or address our situation, our predicament, our perplexity, Prabhupada says. First one, we all are lamenting. Arjuna was lamenting. So whenever we're lamenting, we remember that chapter. Okay? Lamentation. You can read text number 46. And then the word, do you remember the word, Virginia? Sanskrit? No? Shoka. Shoka. Shoka means lamentation. So every time we lament, right? Shoka. And you read text 46, chapter 1, Arjuna is lamenting. And because of that lamentation, he told Krishna in the beginning of chapter 2, I'm not going to fight. Okay? Govinda, I shall not fight. That's it. I'm giving up. When you want to wash the pots, or when it's your turn to wash the toilets. I remember living in the ashram, right? It's your turn today, Prabhu. And your mind shouts, no, not again. When you had to go in the buses and distribute books, sometimes my mind would go like, no, again. Because, in the early days, at least in South America, we didn't have big temples, so it was all rented houses. I'm sure everywhere was the same. So you put 30 people in the big house, ladies on one corner, devotees on the other corner, and you have to wake up very early because it's just one bathroom for, 15 people, right? So you have to be there early, right? and a cold shower, right? And then your mind will shout, no, I don't want this. I hate this. Mom. So lamentation, that's chapter 1. The first instruction that Krishna gives us in the Bhagavad Gita is chapter 2. You are not the body, you are a spirit soul. You don't die. And where do we find that teaching? Text number 13, famous. Dehinos min jatadehe. Diras tatra namujati. That person who is sober, that person who's wise. What is the symptom of a person who is wise? Doesn't do what? Doesn't lament. Oh, I love my, pet. I love my whatever, My team lost, in South America, everyone is a soccer fan, soccer bum, right? And people will kill themselves. I'm not exaggerating. They will commit suicide if they lost the championship or, yes, right? Argentinians, they're crazy, She's from Uruguay, but, they're kind of the same plot. People will kill themselves or kill others if their team lost. You British are also, you know, you are also nuts about that. So your identity, that's what is described in chapter 2. Beautiful chapter, one of my favorites. Sometimes when on Fridays I have to give class in Krishna Village, I just read them from 2:11, meaning from chapter 2, text number 11, not 2 in the morning, 2:11 to 2:33 or 30 or something like that. And people I can see their mouth drops. Like they maybe never heard something like this. You are not the body, you never die, and you will never die. And Krishna, just like a machine gun, he's just telling it as it is to Arjuna. And then in chapter 3, he brings what? Okay, we are not the body, but we have to work with the body. What I'm going to do with this machine, this vehicle of mine? You have to work. And the whole thing about work, duty, occupation, action, is presented in chapter 3 called Karma Yoga. But every time you're going to do something, whether you're going to cook or you're going to sell books or you're going to plant the garden or something like that, then you need some knowledge. Remember, anything that you learn, you need someone that teaches you how to do that, correct? So that's in chapter 4. I don't have my glasses here. Okay, there you go. So chapter 4 is transcendental knowledge. Work, but work with knowledge. Learn how to cook properly, right? No, I'm just going to throw stuff there, then I just, whatever comes out, well, Krishna's mercy. It doesn't work like that. Now, chapter 5, it's also a beautiful chapter. Why? Because it presents the description of what happens, what's the result if you apply chapter 2, 3, and 4. The description of a transcendentalist is there. One who doesn't get disturbed by, pleasant or unpleasant things. One who works in pure devotion. One whose mind is fixed. One whose intelligence and desires are pure. Is the description. It's such a beautiful verse. And it's only 29 verses. Yeah, a beautiful chapter. And finally, in this section, we find chapter 6. I don't know if I asked this, but I'm going to ask it again. You know what happens to most people that win the lottery? I don't know if it still is relevant. This has been there for decades. I don't know if my jokes are outdated now, but you know what happens to most people who wins the lottery? They lose their money. Why? Because they don't change their way of thinking. Okay? That's after many studies, it's universal. Pretty much every continent, every race, every cultural background, most people lose their money because they don't change their mentality. So, Krishna teaches us how to think. And I'm sure that I said this before, but you know how many thoughts we have a day? There are many studies and different numbers. You have heard this. 60, 80, 90. I always say the same thing. I don't know how they count, how they count it with a clicker. But anyway, they say thousands and thousands of thoughts. Just think every day, what should I eat? What should I do? What clothes should I wear? Where should I go? So the thinking is very important. And Bhagavad Gita is very practical. Summarize. All the Vedas summarize. And Krishna says, if you want to achieve perfection, just do one thought. That will give you perfection. What is that thought? Think of Krishna. That's it. Imagine, of all the thousands of thoughts, just one thought. Krishna. What color is he wearing? Don't look. What color is Krishna wearing today? Yellow. Good one. He's an advanced soul. So, this is the road. And I wanted to present this so we can discuss based on this questions that Arjuna presents in the first section. It's really, really good. Very helpful. Very practical for us. Very relevant. What should I do with my life? No, I'm not revealing my mind. I'm saying this is what Arjuna asked to Krishna in chapter 2, text number 7. What is best for me? That's his question. What is best for me? spiritually, or in every sense, in the practical sense, what is best for me, he asked. That's the first question. The second question that he asked in the same chapter, text 54, how does a devotee look like? How does he walk? How does he talk? How does he sit? And what is his language? Srila Prabhupada comments in that purport that it's very important when somebody talks, right? And he will sometimes quote different sayings from sages of the Vedic times. And he will say that a fool is disclosed when it opens its mouth. Huh? So I should shut my mouth. Yeah, it's time now, 6 o'clock. Wow. Is it coming down? Okay. Is that a sign? So like that, there are questions that Arjuna presents in these sections. It's easy to remember them. In chapter 2, there's 2 questions. In chapter 3, there are 2 questions. He asks again, what is best for me? Why you ask me to fight? Such a beautiful description of the soul and the spiritual life. And are you asking me to cut people's head? Huh? How does it work? So he asked that question. And then at the end of chapter 3, he asked him, why sometimes we don't do the right thing? Yeah, you had that question? Nice. Why did I do something that I didn't want to do? Why? So Arjuna asked that question at the end of chapter 3. And the beautiful answers that Krishna will give, we will discuss this. And in chapter 4, he has a unique question, one of my favorite questions. But it's not so evident. But he asked this question, are we equal? Huh? Imagine. Why? Because Krishna was driving Arjuna's chariot. So in one sense, we can say that Arjuna had a superior position. Why? Because Arjuna was giving instructions to Krishna. Go left, go right. You know, when you have a driver, please take me there, please take me here, like that. So Arjuna is putting these questions forward to Krishna on our behalf. He's helping us to understand what is our position. Is it Krishna the same like me? If you measure yourself, you're taller than Krishna here, right? Yeah, so many things that you can do. It appears that Krishna cannot do, and Krishna is just smiling at you. This fool, right? So Arjuna asked questions for us to understand, and also for Krishna to have the opportunity to explain himself. And finally, in chapter 6, he asked one of the most important questions in the Bhagavad Gita. And maybe that's something that concerns us. He asked this question. He says, and maybe we all have had that question, or have that question, what if I blow it? What if I messed up? What if I bloop? What if I fail? Right? And so Arjuna asked that question. And Krishna tells him, look, whatever you achieve, whatever you advance in your next life, it will continue. Don't worry. He already had mentioned that earlier, but he just makes that point. So the road up the hill to reach the peak of the mountain of the Bhagavad Gita is defined by Arjuna's questions and Krishna's answers. And one of the ways that we can remember Krishna's answers is through the analogies that he will present in this question. Okay, so we stop here. We started a little late, so we have extra minutes, but otherwise. Okay, thank you everyone. Any questions? We're in the topic of questions. Any questions? You always have good questions. Prabhupada said, pure devotee. Yeah, 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 yeah. And we cannot see. We cannot see ourselves. We cannot see everyone else's soul. We can just see how they manifest it, right? So we are not Paramatma, and we shouldn't try. Shouldn't try. Don't try it at home. They say, right? But the message, and you mentioned the nectar of instruction, right? And the essential message of that little book, but it's like an atomic bomb because it's very small, and we're studying it now in the Bhakti Shastra course. It's like a trampoline because it brings you from the very lowest part, which is control your senses and mind, to the highest, which is the realm of Radhakunda, Radharani, the gopis, etc. The main instruction there is look for a pure devotee. And what is the characteristic that Rupa Goswami says? Someone, and this is gold for us in this movement, someone who's free from the tendency to criticize others. Propensity. Yeah. It's free. Right? I'm not free. I may not say things, but I so want to criticize everyone else. Right? It's a psychological mechanism just to make myself feel special. I'm better than these people. Blah, 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 blah. You know? Yeah? We may not say it, or we may not say it in public, but that's what we're thinking. Right? But Rupa Goswami says, look for someone that doesn't even have that propensity. Doesn't come, oh, he's chanting, he's doing, she's doing, this and that, you know. But that's not my level, so we have to stop here. The bird has to fly according to the length of its wings. So, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanandi.
Kiva Jayo Jaya Govardhana Arati Katha Javani Jagamanalava Daki Chayachan Bami Gadadhara Nivashatadadara Vashi Achigorachan Raktane Simhashani Arati Karina Brahma Adidavagani Lahari Kori Chamaraduraya Sanjaya Mukundai Basu Gasadikaya Sanka Baji Ganta Baji Baji Karatala Madhuramadanga Baji Parama Rasala Sankhabaji Gantabaji Madhu Madhu Madhubaji Sankhabaji Gantabaji Madhu Madhu Madhubaji Sankhabaji Gantabaji Madhu Madhu Madhubaji Jagorari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Jagorari Bol Bahu Koti Chandra Jini Vadana Ujjvala Gala Desi Banamala Kori Jalamala Shiva Sukhanarada Emikadagada Bhakti Vinodadiki Gora Rasampada Akiva Jaya Jaya Gora Chande Arakika Samba Yarnavi Jagadjana Manalava Agorangiya Ratikava Jagadjana Manalava Gaurangiya Ratikava Jagadjana Manalava Jai Gauraribo Haribo Haribo Nitai Gauraribo Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Vishnu Pradaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devam Gauravani Pracharine Nivashesha Sunyavati Paschachari Satarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Satyananda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasari Gaura Bhakta-vrinda Nanda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasari Gaura Bhakta-vrinda Chaitanya Nanda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jasachinandana, 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 Gaurahari. Nitai Gauranga Jaya, Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga Jaya, Gaurahari. Gaura, Gaura, Gaura Hari, Gaura, Gaura, Gaura Hari. Gaura, Gaura, Gaura Hari, Gaura, Gaura, Gaura Hari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopala Jaya Jaya Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya. Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopala Jaya Jaya Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya. Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopala Jaya Jaya Radha Ramana Hari Govinda Jaya Jaya. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Govardhana Radha Govardhana Shri Radhe. Jaya Krishna Balaram Jaya Giri Govardhan, Krishna Balaram Jaya Giri Govardhan. Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Paramahamsa Parirajgacharya Asasata Srimad Ikalange.
Namaste Narasingaya, Namaste Narasingaya, Praladala Narasingaya, Pralaste Narasingaya, Pralaste Narasingaya, Pralaste Narasingaya, Pralada lada dayine, dayine, Hiranyakashi Vakshaha, Hiranyakashi Vakshaha, Shilatanka Nakolaye, Shilatanka Nakolaye, Ito Nashinga Parato Nashinga, Ito Nashinga Parato Nashinga, Yato Yato Yamitato Nashinga, Yato Yato Yamitato Nashinga, Bahir Nashinga, Ridaye Nashinga, Hir Nashinga, Ridaye Nashinga, Nashinga Madim Saranam Prapadye. Tavakara Kamalavare Nakam Abhukta Sringam Dalita Hiranyakashipu Dhanu Bringam Keshavadirta Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Parita Hiranyakashipu Tanubringa Chavadirta Harahari Rupa Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Keshavadirta Narahare Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Keshavadirta Narahare Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Nishingadev Jaya Nishingadev Jaya Nishingadev Jaya Nishingadev Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Shinga Bhagavana Ki Jai Bhakta Prahlad Maharaj Ki Jai Srila Prabhupada Ki Amazing. Little kirtan or kirtan? Huh, Prabhu? Just for 5 minutes, huh? Little kirtan. Bring that dark harmonium. Come sit. You know how to fix this? It just falls. Okay, just set it. Take this off. Yeah, I think this. Yeah, that doesn't matter. Just until the. Hare Krishna. This Shri Krishna Prabhupada. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.